but you brought us to a place of abundance. Ezra.
For you, O God, tested us. You refined us like silver.
You brought us into prison and laid burdens on our backs.
You let men ride over our heads. We went through fire and water, but you brought us to a place of abundance.
I feel like I can really relate to that verse, you know?
As a graduate of Valley Christian School, I vividly remember a lifetime lesson while playing basketball. We often think of sports for learning self-discipline, leadership, teamwork, but often the best lessons in life are learned through defeat. When I was a freshman, our varsity basketball team suffered an early tournament elimination. Quite frankly, neither our team nor myself had given anywhere near our best. I sat in front of my locker with tears welling up in my eyes, unsure of how I was supposed to feel when Coach came up to me. I expected him to say something like, "Next year's a new year," or "Thanks for trying," but what he said started to change my perspective in sports and in life. He knew we had not given our best, and he said to me, "Remember this moment, because you don't ever want to have this feeling again." It wasn't about winning the trophy, but giving our all. I was challenged. We had the words Christian written across the front of our jersey, which holds us to a higher standard of excellence. We weren't doing it for our glory, but the Lord's. I am so grateful to all my coaches and teachers at Valley Christian for consistently molding my character with a biblical worldview and pushing me above mediocrity. Today, as a business professional, my suit doesn't have Christian on it like my jersey did back then, but it is my desire to represent Christ at work, at home, and every aspect of life. Valley Christian School had a big part in laying that foundation. My family believes so much in this foundation that I currently have 4 children and 8 nieces and nephews attending Valley Christian School. Please listen to this story by Kyra, one of my nieces. I hope it inspires you as much as it does me.
My headaches began between freshman and sophomore years. By the time school started, I had a headache pretty much every day. My school assignments became more and more difficult, and halfway through sophomore year, I was exhausted from putting in so much work. My goal of maintaining a 4.0 was becoming harder and harder. One day, my Spanish teacher took me aside and reminded me that my worth and my identity wasn't based on what grade I got on my paper, but who I am in Christ. She prayed with me, and as we prayed, God's presence became real again, and I knew that I didn't have to face this alone. God continued to work in me, and I found music was a big release from my struggles. I began to play the piano again, and the first song that really spoke to me was about going through struggles with God. I was reminded it is okay for the warrior to be a child, crying out to God for aid. Although my headaches have continued, worshiping my God reminds me He is always good and loves me unconditionally. Now, as a senior, I look back and realize I had underestimated myself and what I could accomplish through God. While a project may take me 5 days longer to complete than the rest of my classmates, I know that I can complete it above my own expectations. I know that I'm well prepared for my future, academically and spiritually. With lifelong friends and compassionate, dedicated teachers at my side, I have found the strength to overcome any challenge and put my trust in God, for He is the one who sustains me. I wish I could articulate the difference every one of my teachers has made in my life. Never doubting my abilities, never allowing me to give up. Saying thank you doesn't seem enough, but from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much.
I grew up with a father who taught science for 32 years. He taught me a love for science and a love for Christ. I followed that passion to college, where I got a major in chemistry, and I went on to get a master's in public health. The workplace was stimulating to me, and it validated me as a professional. When my first child came along, working part-time and being a mom was euphoric. However, after number 2 arrived, I knew I needed to stay home, at least until they're all school-aged. As more children came along, I started to feel like I was losing myself, with less adult interaction and more, diapers and crying, runny noses, and well, I had 4 kids in 5 years. But God was always there sustaining me, and my love for teaching and molding these young minds grew and grew. As my youngest was quickly approaching school age, I wanted to have the same positive influence that my father and my youth pastor had had on me. I felt God was calling me to become a teacher. Well, immediately the obstacles were insurmountable. First, I needed to get accepted into a grad school for education. At this point, I hadn't practiced chemistry for 23 years, and I wasn't exactly an honor student in those days. Then I would need to find a high school that would offer me a paid teaching internship. Not to mention, I have a husband, 4 children, and I need to teach and go to school at the same time. But I firmly believe God's calling comes with equipping. Although there were many no's along the way, God put yeses exactly when and where they needed to be. He never said his plan would be easy, but he did say he has a plan for my life, and that it's good. About 2 in the morning, every night, I'm thankful for that plan and for his strength and love. And I'm gonna finish my master's degree this May.
Our trust in God is at the core of our existence. From my experience as a VCS graduate, current VCS parent, and business professional, I believe it is our duty as Christians to give our children every opportunity to make their faith real and relevant. It is not a matter of whether we'll be tested in our faith, but rather when and how. As for myself, I feel the education I received at Valley Christian has helped prepare me for these tests in life, academically, spiritually, and in real life. And these are 4 of our biggest and best tests. Let's go.
I just got a few quick minutes, but I wanted to say Valley Christian had a huge impact on our family. 1.5 years ago, we were at a crossroads with our middle child. He was entering his junior year of high school, and he was struggling in every way possible, intellectually, emotionally, socially, and academically. And we had, you know, for those of you fathers out there, you guys know you have that one kid who's going to test you and try you at every turn, and this was that kid. And for us, we tried everything. We had moved him in and out of different schools, and finally, when we landed here in Missoula, it didn't take us long to see that, you know, the public school system here wasn't doing what our son needed. And as parents, we were beyond frustrated. And in a fit of frustration, we pulled him out and said, you know, we're going to homeschool. And we put him online. And there's nothing more disheartening than to see your son's spirit broken. And our kid is a social kid, and being at home and on the computer, for most kids might be a dream, but for our kid, it just wasn't the thing. And we saw his spirit breaking. And then Russ Smith, who is a good friend of Valley Christian, Brandon's father, Kyle's father, he recommended Valley Christian, and for us, big family, it was beyond our means to think of private school. But we prayed, and just like TC was sharing, when God leads you somewhere or where he guides you, he provides. And we were set on a path that God was leading us to Valley Christian. And so we went through all the steps, and we got to the point where it was time to make that financial decision. And my wife went to the school while I was at work, and while she was there, they offered a financial package that gave us a $1,000 scholarship, thanks to nights like tonight. But the $1,000 scholarship didn't pay for everything, and we were kind of figuring it out, like, how are we going to do this? And I was committed to taking a second job, third job, whatever. If this is where God was directing us, we were going to do it. And at the same time, she was there getting this information. She came out with a number of what we would have to pay on a monthly basis. At that same time, I was at my job, and I was in a review, being reviewed for my performance. And when I came out of that review, my wife called me right as I walked out. And I said, babe, how much is it? And she told me. And when she told me, I was blown away, because I did the math, and I had just gotten a raise to cover that exact amount. And so that was an amazing blessing. And the true blessing came after that. And that's when Kai got enrolled here and was able to play in the pep band. And then for whatever reason, kid had never picked up a tennis racket in his life, decided to play tennis, and then football in the fall. And no father could be prouder when our son scored 2 touchdowns in a game, rushed for over 100 yards, the next T.C. Stallings. We were excited, couldn't believe it. My wife ran up and down the sidelines. Everyone knows her by Mama Nay now. And we've seen a turnaround. Now, Valley Christian isn't going to fix your kid. But what Valley Christian provides for your child is reinforcing those things that you're instilling in them at home. And the same values that we instill in our child at home were being corrupted when he was leaving our home. But when he came to Valley Christian, they were supported. And the smaller classes and the faculty and the administration rallied around him. They invest in your kid because he is a child, and he's a child of God, and he's a child with a purpose. And they invest in your child to help develop that purpose. Whereas a year and a half ago, we didn't know if our kid was going to graduate. Well, he graduated, and he's been accepted to college. And forgive us all, but he's going to be a Bobcat. But our son's going to college, and it's in no small part thanks to the scholarship and thanks to the faculty and the staff here at Valley Christian. So think about that before you sign that check, before you write that check. It's going to a good place, and it's impacting lives, and it's changing the future. So thank you guys, and God bless.